All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We are looking at a match that's basically going to be talked about for decades. I mean, the historic 2026 World Cup upset. Norway eliminating the absolute tournament favorites Brazil in a stunning 2-1 victory. We're going to break down exactly how a team that was literally built with the sole obligation of winning the title had their dreams completely shattered, and how a totally new, unstoppable force just announced itself on the grandest stage of them all. So to really wrap our heads around the sheer magnitude of the shock, we actually have to jump all the way back to 1990. Why that specific year? Well, because that was literally the last time the Brazilian national team crashed out of a World Cup in the round of 16. Back then, it was a tough defeat to Argentina over in Italy. And ever since that moment, the Seleção has always advanced beyond this stage. For over 3 decades, surviving the round of 16 was, virtually a guarantee for Brazil. Well, until now. And look, the stakes seriously couldn't have been higher under the bright lights of New Jersey. The 2026 tournament featured teams competing for a massive, record-breaking $871 million prize pool. So yeah, this wasn't just another game. This was a high-stakes, ridiculously high-pressure environment where legends are supposed to be forged. And for a footballing powerhouse like Brazil, an early elimination like this is seen as nothing short of a total national disaster.
Act 1. The crash of the Seleção.
The arrival of manager Carlo Ancelotti was supposed to finally bring some order to a generation that's just overflowing with talent. But instead, Brazil's tactical structure totally fell apart. The first hour of the match was honestly a masterclass in frustration and completely missed opportunities. Look at this timeline. In the 14th minute, Bruno Guimaraes had a penalty saved. Then in the 40th, Vinicius Jr. was denied. And just shy of the hour mark, Endrick completely misses a crucial one-on-one. They were relying entirely on individual sparks instead of an actual system, and Norway's goalkeeper, Erjan Nyland, made them pay big time with some massive game-defining saves.
Act 2. The Viking Invasion.
Because here's the thing, when you leave the door open in tournament football, you are leaving yourself incredibly vulnerable. And in 2026, there is absolutely no force more unstoppable than Erling Haaland. Just look at these chaotic final minutes. In the 78th minute, he finally breaks the deadlock with this lethal header. Then, right as Brazil is desperately pushing for an equalizer, bam, Haaland strikes again in the 89th minute with an unbelievable long-range drive. Now, Neymar did manage a consolatory penalty deep into stoppage time, but man, the damage was already done. The android had destroyed Brazil.
And the tactical breakdown on that first goal? Staggering. Pundit Gary Neville delivered this really stinging critique, highlighting a catastrophic defensive lapse by Arsenal's Gabriel on that opening header from Haaland. Neville pointed out, and rightly so, that against a forward like Haaland, you have to block his run. You have to get tight. Instead, Gabriel stayed 5 yards off him, basically engaging in a straight foot race for a header. And as Neville put it, once Haaland gets a run on you, you are dead. It was just a brutal, brutal exposure of Brazil's defensive frailties.
With that brutal brace, Haaland's tournament statistics became even more frightening. He officially reached 7 goals for the 2026 World Cup, which tied him with absolute legends Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe right at the top of the Golden Boot scoring charts. He proved conclusively, without a shadow of a doubt, that he can do it on the world stage, delivering this monstrous performance that literally changed his country's entire history.
Act 3. Contrasting Destinies. Every great footballing story has its soaring triumphs and, of course, its devastating tragedies. And this match gave us both in spades. On one side, you have the absolute physical dominance of Haaland, who has now scored in a mind-blowing 14 consecutive international matches. He netted 27 goals in that run alone. But juxtaposed against that, you have the tragic struggle of Neymar. Battling a right calf injury, he could only manage to play in 2 matches this entire tournament. It's such a stark contrast, right? A player at the absolute peak of his powers facing off against a fading legend who's basically being betrayed by his own body.
Act 4. A Poetic End.
For over a decade, Neymar carried the hopes of an entire football-obsessed nation on his back. And his exit? I mean, it's straight out of a movie script. In this stunningly poetic, perfectly closed-loop narrative, Neymar made his international debut for Brazil on August 9th, 2010. The location? MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Fast forward exactly 16 years later, his final, completely heartbreaking match takes place in that very same stadium. His journey started and ended on the exact same patch of grass. Just incredible. So, what exactly is the legacy he leaves behind? Well, he steps away having given absolutely everything to his country. Over those 16 years, he amassed 129 international matches and scored 80 goals. He officially cements his status as the most successful goal scorer in the rich, storied history of the Brazilian national team. That is a monumental individual achievement, even without the World Cup trophy he so desperately craved. After the match, a tearful Neymar delivered this poignant farewell message to the fans and the media, simply saying, "I tried my best, my journey started here and ended here." It's a simple, genuinely crushing quote that brings a definitive close to a spectacular era. Seeing the golden boy of Brazilian football weeping on the pitch, officially closing the book on a career that was as dazzling as it was demanding, it's a lot to take in.
Act 5, the aftermath. A result of this magnitude obviously sends massive shockwaves through the entire footballing world. For Brazil, the fallout is severe. The whole Carlo Ancelotti project yielded an early exit, which is now forcing a massive generational rebuild. In fact, Captain Marquinhos is already out there publicly pleading for the fans to have patience. A brand new generation has to step up right now to rebuild the five-time champions, and they have to do it without their talisman.
Meanwhile, the story couldn't be more different for the Norwegian side. Riding insanely high on this historic victory, Norway sails right into the very first World Cup quarterfinal in their nation's entire history. And their reward, a massive high-profile showdown against England under the lights down in Miami. Which leaves us with one massive question as we look forward to the next round of this unforgettable tournament. With Erling Haaland in the absolute form of his life, having literally just toppled international football's greatest giant, can Norway's android keep this legendary run alive and conquer England next? It is going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the pitch.